The Confederation of Grift love nothing more than abandoning any vestiges of self-awareness and theatrically referring to themselves as the movement. Beyond the performative self-importance of applying this term to such a group of avaricious affiliate marketers engaged in a passive income smash and grab under the guise of nationalism, the label does have a function. A movement, by definition, has a trajectory, one that, if successful, results in positive societal change for its devotees, or in this instance, its pay-piggies. The Confederation of Grift, COG, in assuming this title, places itself front and centre in the quest for the Albionic Eldorado that they so tantalise their band of parasocial brothers with. Perhaps the most shamelessly grasping and cynically manipulative of COG UK, millennial woes, will thump the table and insist that people and projects need support, inferring that without his essays on Doctor Who, vampiric attachment to this week's emotive movement-validating horror story, and parasocial exploitation, the white race will be consigned to oblivion and expire unlamented by the roadside of history. In choosing from the dizzying array of grift portals he presents his, quote, fans, and sending him money, you are simply doing your bit in this group-funded fight back against the dying of the light. Of course, the reality of the situation is that you will have just further enabled a particularly mendacious dark triad narcissist in his insatiable pursuit of ego validation and funds. So who literally still buys this shit? To answer this, we must draw a deep breath and look into the Dissident Right's core customer base, the parasocial bros. These are not the floating internet consumers who, while good for an algorithm boost or a paywall sub here and there, are otherwise unwilling to loosen the super chat purse strings, but instead the ardent devotees. 10 years deep into a parasocial attachment with their heroic figure of the resistance of choice, the true believers, the hardcore. Are they really the mug punters or victims that at first glance they appear, or is there more to it than that? What do these people get from their premium rate imaginary friendship, aside from parasocial feels, a dopamine addiction, and information laundered Kremlin talking points? Quite simply, they get succour, and lots of it. This is a transactional process, and the USP of the parasocial product is regular narrative assurance that their failings have been inflicted upon them solely by an external force, in this instance, modernity. In this, the influencer performs the role of a parasocial nursemaid, kissing their knee and telling them that their isolation and social torpor is not, it transpires, their fault. It's the system, the boomers, the Jays, the decline, the darkies, the grand arch of history, and living through the last knockings of Spengler's civilizational cycle that has wrought a life of thwarted expectation upon them. This is the subcommunicated siren song of the doom grifter, composing sweet symphonies of cope to entice the huddled, demoralized masses onto the paywalled rocks of the Substack shore.
One life shit, telly shit. They're all flipping world mounted now. Not like radio rents, telly's dark notions past. Sitting in the corner of the living room like an old pal. Part of the furniture, part of the family. Well, not anymore. We're deep in the clown. Kiss and a kebab, no more brass bands. Self-checkout at little stores and dreams. Take it easy, folks. And why not when we drown these self-checkout?
Simple fact is that life for young white males in Britain is harder than it has been for multiple generations. The boomers really were a blessed generation, and the decline in living standards has been stark. But this is just how things are now. You can't really get around it, least of all by indulging in a habitual avalanche of kvetch and cope on the matter. Essentially, you are presented with two options. Accept that the situation is worse, and in response determined to make a concerted effort to improve things, or stay within the low-energy morass of the Dissident Right's paywalled echo chambers. Recognizing that your vibe and general sense of positivity and proclivity towards action-taking are vital in achieving success in life should lead people to see how malign the latter option would be. It's like the HBO series The Wire. The unfortunately named Dennis Wise ruefully exclaims,
"The game done changed."
Game the same, just got more feds.
Given that today's world is harder for younger generations to navigate, what good is it to constantly piss and wail about the game having been less fierce for Grandad? But of course, a mercantile-minded influencer rendered balm of societal blame can be applied to any number of psychological wounds and failings. In doing so, they can lure readers into their paywalled comment sections where group-sourced confirmation bias can reinforce the wider acceptative narrative that it's not our fault. Further to this, we can briefly return to the parasocial reach-around hypothesis and see that this sour little transaction damages both ways. The figures fuck the subjects in exchange for money, ego validation and status. The subjects fuck the figures in pouring petrol on their ever-smouldering delusional narcissism. Millennial Woes triumphantly declares that in a better age I'd have been a king's advisor, and his parasocial subjects nod along, cursing modernity for so cruelly spurning this great man's talent. He gets his delusions validated and further enabled. They receive an assurance that, by extension, their societal failure is also the fault of cursed modernity. Both parties come out of it socially damaged, but with enhanced status within the E-group and plenty of cope narrative. They get it. They understand. It really is the end times. Acceleration, e.g. taking no positive action in your life whatsoever and hoping the situation gets worse, really is the only way out of this mess. So what can we conclude from any of this? That the parasocial bro is not so much a victim, but merely a consumer of cope, the unspoken USB of their paywalled subscriptions and buy me a coffee G-ups. So what does this make the COG operatives? Not much beyond the purveyors of rare cope and soon to be proscribed narratives. Will they never be set free?